Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Core studio. Welcome to the show. Okay, so these days, whenever you see Hasbro in the headlines, you don't think, okay, wait, this has got to be good, right? This is going to be a good thing. Hasbro, the CEO saved a bunch of children from a burning building. Like that is not the exact kind of headline you expect. But now it seems like maybe no one is happy with Hasbro. Let's jump into it with some news on, well, this and even more. Hasbro sued an investor suit for allegedly lying about overpurchase inventory after pandemic demand. So this is just kind of along the long pattern of Hasbro not doing things maybe the best way for not only their consumers, the ones who actually play the game, but also for their investors too. Hasbro allegedly misrepresented and concealed the extent of its inventory buildup. So again, with the pandemic happening, there was a big boom in buying things, because everyone's staying at home essentially and playing games at home. So yeah, Hasbro did have definitely a bump during that time. And we'll talk about the Hasbro stock here in a little bit before we talk about the giant Commander news at the end of this episode. But yeah, apparently that happened, and they decided, you know what? We're maybe not going to be the most honest, I guess. Okay, a self-described investor rights law firm filed a lawsuit Wednesday alleging that Hasbro, the tabletop gaming and toy company, misrepresented its excessive inventory to investors, something the firm says is a violation of federal security laws. Good job, Hasbro. Polygon reached out to Hasbro for comment and is yet to hear back. No, really? They're not talking about it. Okay. This law firm filed a complaint in New York court on behalf of the West Palm Beach Firefighters Pension Fund. Good job, firefighters, asking the court to grant the case class action status, meaning other investors and stock purchasers can participate. So again, if you actually are an investor or you have stock in Hasbro, you can join as well. Hasbro, like other gaming companies, saw a boost in interest in sales during the pandemic when people were looking for things to do in their homes. Games were an obvious choice. The lawsuit alleges Hasbro purchased inventory to meet that demand, but ended up buying too much. Hasbro allegedly told investors the high purchasing was necessary to mitigate supply chain risks and meet consumer demand out of the 2022 holiday season, according to the lawsuit. When that inventory sat, Hasbro said the stock reflected outstanding anticipated demand and not a decreased demand. The lawsuit alleges Hasbro was intentionally misleading investors and knew it overpurchased inventory to an extent that significantly outpaced customer demand. Timeline makes sense. 2022 is when the world started opening up more broadly and people were eager to get out of their houses. So again, things started kind of going down again when it comes to purchasing for games because of, again, people being able to get out and do other things like go for a hike, go to a store, walk around, I guess. Yeah, so they essentially said, you know what, no, we're fine. We've got that demand. Don't worry about that stock over there. And I did look into this, and people were speculating like, oh, wait, wasn't there that time where Hasbro, or whatever, there's a giant landfill in Texas that was filled with magic cards, like over $100,000 worth of magic cards? This is not related to that. In fact, I believe that happened back in 2021. Someone check me in the comments below on that, but this is not about that. Okay, so that is a separate debacle that happened apparently where a lot of magic cards are put into a landfill. Okay, Hasbro announced in 2023 in a preview of its 2022 financial report that revenue was down due to poor sales in the toy market. To mitigate that loss, it laid off 15% of its staff, around 1,000 people. Talked about that last year, absolutely terrible. Despite that, Hasbro allegedly continued to tell investors that didn't have an inventory problem. Okay, in 2023 of October, an investor asked about Hasbro stock, to which Hasbro Chief Operating Officer Gina Goder said Hasbro was spending $50 million to move and market inventory and as an obsolescence cost, which is corporate speak for outdated, devalued inventory. So basically, they had too much stuff, and they were just moving things around. Because of this, especially the October 2023 financial disclosures, stock prices declined. Investors lost money, the lawsuit alleges, to the tune of a loss of $831 million in shareholder value. That is a ton, and we'll talk about their stock here in a second. The stock value Hasbro previously had, according to the lawsuit claims, was due to inflated prices due to the lack of disclosure. So again, basically Hasbro's like, yeah, don't worry about that stuff over there. No, we're fine. And because of that, well, people still bought into the stock, and because of that, they lost a good amount of money. Again, $831 million. The lawsuit states Hasbro stock is owned by hundreds of thousands of investors who would be impacted. The law firm is asking the court for damages due to the alleged violation of the Exchange and Securities Act, which requires publicly traded companies to be honest and transparent to shareholders. Well, here's something that I don't expect these days, but I mean, yeah, the Securities Act does expect of Hasbro honesty. That being said, them lying about these kinds of things or not being completely upfront and honest and transparent about it is a problem for them legally. So again, although they can be dishonest about things like, oh, I don't know, saying that, yeah, we're gonna reprint, all the universes beyond cards that are, mechanically unique into universes within things, and then we're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Well, they can't exactly, get away with being dishonest when it comes to the money things. So there you go. In most recent earnings report filed on October 24th, Hasbro's reported a 15% decline in revenue. Its inventory, according to the report, was down 39% over the last third quarter. Hasbro expects the company to be down 14% overall in 2024. So again, although some things are going well for Hasbro when it comes to, again, they'll be like, oh, this is the biggest set we've ever sold. This is the biggest that we've ever sold. Secret there. Behind the scenes, some things might not be going so well, and again, certain decisions that they are making are not only upsetting, again, players, but now also shareholders and investors in the company, because they're doing certain things that, yeah, you shouldn't be doing. Now, let's move over really quick to talk about the Hasbro stock before we talk about the big Commander news potential. Here we go. So, again, over the past 5 years, we have seen their stock go kind of here, there, and everywhere. It was doing fine. Then the pandemic hit, essentially. And again, it kind of cratered. But then people, were at home and people were just, buying games, essentially. So there you go. It started going up, back down, back up, back down. So again, you see kind of like, all right, yeah, people back kind of in the time when they were talking about around here, lots of money was lost. And again, Hasbro was, maybe not as transparent as they should have been about certain things when it came to their inventory. So things have been not going all that well when it comes to shareholder value for Hasbro, because they've been making certain decisions. I mean, they just had that article a little while ago about, we're focusing on digital, like digital, because some of their other divisions aren't doing so well. And yeah, they're going to be making certain decisions in that way, which leads us to, again, that digital push in an article that came out, today, I believe, from Bloomberg. Hasbro's gamer CEO refocuses on play after selling film business. So, again, they sold the film business. They had the D&D movie last year. It did, I guess, not as well in the box office as they'd hope. That being said, let's jump into this and talk about how this might impact Commander and some speculation that's happened before about this, but where we are at now with it and what might happen. So here we go. Hasbro Inc. Chief Executive Officer Chris Cox couldn't hide his disappointment when he opened 2 packs of his company's Magic the Gathering playing cards at a board game cafe in New York. It's just kind of funny. It's like the CEO of this company that has all these packs like, I got some trash rares here. Oh no. Does Chris Cox actually play? Really? Does he really? Okay, anyways. Cox likes to play from a red deck whose aggressive cards can quickly deliver creatures and spells to batter an opponent. That's a good way to describe a red deck, I guess. Instead, he got more contemplative blue cards that confused him. That would require him to patiently build a strategy to deplete his rival's health and win the game. He resolutely shuffled and drew his first hand. A gamer at heart, Cox was tapped to run what was then the largest U.S. toy maker in 2022 after the death of his predecessor, Brian Goldner. Hasbro, like other toy companies, was enjoying a surge in sales with parents buying gifts for kids stuck at home during the pandemic. So again, talking about how just how kind of the makings of all this, of the lawsuit and of like the direction of the company has changed because of a lot of things that have just happened over the past couple of years. But the boom began to fade once kids returned to school and other activities. Sales in the company's consumer products division, which includes classic toys like G.I. Joe action figures and Play-Doh modeling clay, are expected to fall for the 3rd straight year. Again, so their actual physical things are falling. Analysts are forecasting only modest growth in 2025. Hasbro has laid off over 1,000 workers, considering a move to Boston from its longtime home in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I did not know that, so there you go. There's some more information right there. Meanwhile, movies Hasbro co-financed, including the recent Transformers 1 and Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, received critical praise but underperformed at the box office. Last year, the company sold off most of its film and TV business, and longtime rival Mattel Inc. passed the company in annual sales. While studios such as Sony Group Corp. and Lionsgate Entertainment Corp. will continue to make movies based on the company's products, Hasbro itself won't co-finance the films. It's part of a larger strategy to invest more in video and other games, which are popular with kids and adults and have been taking a greater share of consumers' leisure time. So, I don't know if you've heard of the Magic TV show on Netflix that was supposed to happen years ago. I think with whoever did the last the Avengers or whatever Endgame. I think, right, the directors of that, and then they were doing this one, but then that fell through. But now it's back on. Someone let me know in the comments below. Is that one also outside of Hasbro control? I would assume that they're not co-financing that one as well. It says films here, but I believe that would be the case. That being said, they are making adjustments because, again, some of their things aren't paying off. I mean, again, Magic is doing well numbers-wise for the most part, and that is kind of stopping the blood loss essentially when it comes to the company. But when it comes to a lot of other things that are failing, again, toy divisions, their film division essentially as well, things are going down. Mattel is going up. Again, the Barbie movie and everything was huge. That being said, we're going to see kind of what they're talking about when it comes to digital things. We want to reach fans where they want to play, and increasingly that is through digital expressions of their favorite brands. So again, that is a huge statement said before, but we're going to get to the big news in Commander potentially because we're not there yet. The Microsoft Corp veteran joined Hasbro in 2016 as the president of the company Wizards of the Coast division, which makes Magic the popular Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game. Sales of that unit nearly doubled to $1.4 billion between 2019 and 2023 as Cox introduced new card packs for Magic, online version called Magic the Gathering Arena. So again, Arena has been successful, but again, there are slight things that Arena doesn't do currently, notably the most popular format in Magic, which is Commander. A licensing deal for the hit title Monopoly Go is expected to bring in $105 million in revenue this year, while Baldur's Gate 3 garnered $90 million in the first 6 months. So again, their video games division is a mobile game, I guess, for Monopoly Go, is working well for them. So they are trying to kind of move their investment strategy away from things that weren't working, G.I. Joe, Play-Doh, etc., and films, down to this. And where does that leave Magic again, which, again, for the most popular format of it, is not digital? Or Hasbro wants to make more games itself. The company has already invested $1 billion in developing video games. Cox said he's earmarked $100 million to $150 million a year for future projects, including a new science fiction adventure game, Exodus, headed by veterans from Baldur's Gate developer BioWare. Haven't heard of that one. Anyone in the comments, let me know what you've heard about that one so far. Anyways, Hasbro is also working on a new Dungeons & Dragons video game that hasn't been previously announced, Cox said. In an action-adventure game based on G.I. Joe that is currently in pre-production, the company aims to release 1 to 2 video games a year by 2026. From what I've heard, that seems incredibly ambitious for any kind of a studio and just kind of very interesting. All right. Video games are a surefire way to counter the drag in toys and movies. In 2023, Wizards of the Coast canceled at least 5 video games amid a post-pandemic contraction in that industry. More than 11,500 video game workers have lost their jobs so far this year. Some analysts predict the market will rebound in 2025, but still won't hit the COVID-fueled high of 2021. Hasbro is looking to invest more in its Magic's video game format? I guess that makes sense. Sales of the fantasy card game have grown each of the last 6 years, and in 2022 crossed $1 billion in revenue. $1 billion. But Cox said Magic Arena, while popular, doesn't harness Magic's 2 biggest growth areas, collectability and its Commander format, which involves more players and cards. So again, Magic Arena, again, is successful for them, but it's not tapping into Commander players because you can't play Commander on Arena. Also, Commander is a social format where players get together, and you are playing and you're, enjoying playing the game, but you're also enjoying the social aspect of the format and just meeting new people or just hanging out with your friends and just talking, while you're actually playing the game and, swinging a Feldergriff at someone. All right, currently Hasbro is testing a video game version of Commander, which would potentially be separate from Arena and allow for more than 2 players to compete. Hasbro is also looking to make digital versions of its cards more collectible, like the popular game Marvel Snap. Okay, this is the big news here, and please let me know. I have not heard of this until, again, this article is from today. I've not heard of this until today. Wizards actually talking about Commander digital version. Yeah, okay. Commander is technically on, the old, platform essentially, right? Like, sure, it's on Magic the Gathering Online. Cool, all right. No one plays that. Some people play that, but still, like, it's not on the updated, like, oh, awesome, Magic the Gathering Arena. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have that kind of draw. So, when it comes to them saying, okay, we're actually testing out a video game version of Commander, but it's separate from Arena. Again, Arena right now is just 1v1. It also has card restrictions because it only has back to, what is it, Return to Ravnica at this point, I think? Is that correct? Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it's Return to Ravnica. Doing a lot of this stuff off the top of my head. Anyways, that is obviously what is holding back from Commander going on Arena. And also, again, kind of the, you know what, most Commander players out there, I would venture, also do enjoy the social aspect of the game, you know, playing in person with people. So we'll see kind of how that goes. Again, they're testing a video game version of it right now. It's interesting that this kind of just hasn't come out up until now, and how this would work. Why it's separate from Arena, I assume, is because of the Arena economy. And you can't exactly expect players to, like, just try to unlock all of the cards they need for their Commander decks with, like, wild cards. That would not work. That would take forever. Yeah, I mean, that literally would just take forever. Players would not be able to do it. So you'd have to do some kind of, like, I guess just probably like a monthly, you know, cost, essentially a subscription fee to, like, hey, okay, I get access to whatever cards you want for this fee, basically, is probably what it would end up being. Or more like a model like MTG, you know, essentially, where, like, you are buying individual cards. You're not just like, okay, I play a little bit. I got wild cards. I use them. Okay, I play some more. I get wild cards. I use them. Like, it's not how Commander is going to necessarily work, because players build the deck ahead of time. And they're like, yeah, okay, I expect to be able to build, like, these 5 decks, and then you can't build them at all. So we shall see how that goes. It's interesting that they are dabbling into that. And again, with their talk, I mean, I think it was a month ago or so, where they're like, you know what, we are going to be going very far into digital. We see kind of the problematic things that have been happening over the years. I mean, at some point, there's going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back when it comes to the amount of product that they are putting out physically. So them working in that direction of digital is interesting. And to see how Commander players adjust to that, how Commander players feel about that, and how this ends up going, if it does end up going. Again, we don't have a timeline on this. Again, it says that they're testing it currently. Where does that end up? And again, the fact that it is separate from Arena is just very interesting to me, that they're not even, I mean, I'm sure they're going to use, I don't know anything about coding things, okay? I mean, coding those kind of video games and whatnot. I'd assume they use, like, the base model of Arena, whatever, and make it look similar or whatever, because it's a very, very well done, well polished and oiled machine at this point. And I don't think they'd make it look like MTGO, but basically, where is this going to end up? Because for years and years and years, players have been kind of on one or two sides of the fence, where it's just like, yeah, like, oh, that's never going to happen. That couldn't happen. And other ones like, well, it could happen, but will it work, kind of? Will Commander work as an actual kind of video game version of it, like MTG Arena, but not MTG Arena? And also them kind of talking about make the digital versions of its cards more collectible, like the popular game Marvel Snap. Like, how do you go about making digital versions more collectible? I guess, like, different versions of cards that you got to purchase and whatnot, and be like, okay, I've got this one, cool. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I played Marvel Snap for just a little bit, just for fun, with some friends, kind of talking about playing it, but yeah, I didn't really get into, like, I need to collect these things. I was more so like, I can't remember. Who did I have? I can't remember what my deck was even. I don't know. It was fun for a little bit. Anyways, Magic is adding characters from the Lord of the Rings and Marvel Comics into its fantasy game setting. Lovely. Provoking mixed reactions from fans who say Hasbro's diluting Magic's vibe. Yes. Still, Magic's Lord of the Rings cards were its second such series to surpass 200 million in lifetime revenue and were the game's fastest and top selling. Hasbro hopes these sets will bring in new and lapsed players. A Spider-Man inspired collection is coming 2025. Again, Universe Beyond is a separate discussion really from the focus of this. That being said, lots of things are changing in Magic, changing in Hasbro over these years. Some decisions better than others, and again, them seemingly making people just mad on all sides of the table. You've got, players mad for one reason, investors mad for another reason, and again, kind of this, like, big looming, will there be a video game version of Magic's most popular format, which again, they have never really confirmed in the past, and also been like, yeah, like, well, Commander, we only have so many, cards in Arena, and also, like, it's a 4-player thing versus a 2-player. We shall see. Think of Magic as a canvas. Okay. Ken Troop, the global play leader for the title, said in an interview last month at Hasbro's New York Harvest, Magic's IP is one of the things we can put on that canvas, but we can put other things on it, like Mountain Dew, and SpongeBob, and Fortnite. Okay, back in the Manhattan Cafe, Cox pulled ahead in the Magic game. He held one card close to his chest, testing that it could make all the difference in the game. Once his victory was sure, he revealed a useless gray card. what, like an artifact? A great card. I guess that's one way to describe an artifact, I guess. What makes Magic so successful is what will drive Hasbro's future success. Cox said with a bit of a cackle in his voice, it's grounded in play. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, where Magic goes is kind of where Hasbro goes, it seems like. Although, obviously, they do have other things going well for them when it comes to, like, Monopoly Go, D&D. But, yeah, a lot of their divisions, again, they sold off their film. A lot of their other divisions are tanking. They're having some problematic things happen. And, again, I think the biggest thing to learn out of this is literally that they are currently testing a video game version of Commander. Like, what this will end up being that is separate from Arena, not Arena. Which, again, like, I mean, we'll see kind of how that goes with players that, again, have invested a lot of time into Arena and maybe also play Commander. And, like, well, I've got all these other, like, you know, I've got all these wild cards. I've got all these things in Commander. But, like, I do think that they probably would make it into a subscription or, again, like a market where you're buying cards, essentially. Like, I don't think it would be wild cards. I don't think there's any way that you could make a wild card system work. There's just, like, where you're just getting things with wild cards like you are in Arena, essentially. Wild cards, opening packs, and whatnot, but like, I don't think that that version would work for Commander, again, which has a card pool of what, like 27,000 or something more cards, essentially. Yeah, and the fact that they need to actually code all those things, we shall see when this happens. Again, this is the first that I'm hearing about it. Let me know in the comments if you've heard, again, something more substantial than this, of them talking about that video game version of Commander that they're actually testing right now, separate from Commander, and again, like, they want to make it more collectible, like Marvel Snap. Like, I mean, that's not surprising. They're going to want to booster fun, quote unquote. I hate that phrase. They're going to want to booster fun the new Commander, you know, video game thing. So we shall see how all that ends up. A lot of news recently. And again, usually when it comes to Hasbro, you see some news like, that's probably not good. It's not, again, like, you know, they saved a bunch of kids from a burning building, you know. That's the firefighters that are mad at them, apparently, because of the investments. Okay, so yeah. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Again, let me know if you have heard about that video game version. This is the very first time hearing of them actually mentioning, like, yeah, like, we're working on this. They're actually working on it. We shall see. I mean, again, it could be years down the road, most likely years down the road, but we shall see how this changes Magic. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.